Sally, if you can go back a slide.
Sure. I'm sorry, I got a alert on the screen.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ellen Tanner. Welcome to Beyond the Tooth Fairy, talking with children about money. Often, children's first time they get their money is when the Tooth Fairy comes, and as sweet as that is, parents need to be prepared for teaching a lot more about money as children grow. Most of us are uncomfortable talking about money with anyone, and we know from researchers that people find it easier to talk about many other things other than their finances. They don't want to talk about their salary, their savings, their debts, etc. I personally wasn't involved in their research, but let's just say I think they're right. So what do we want our children to know? Well, besides the denominations of coins and bills, we want them to be clear about what our values are about money. Well, what are those values and how do we convey them? Which of these statements, if any of them, are true for you? In our family, we earn our money. We save our money for the things that we want. We share our money with those who are less fortunate or with groups that support things we support. We have money for emergencies, such as a rainy day fund. We budget our money so we can pay our bills on time, and many more things. So what do we want our children to know so they can share these values? You know, I had a friend who used to believe that every time he earned extra money, something happened that he needed to use the money for, such as a car repair or a home repair. He got so frustrated that over time he struggled with earning extra money to avoid those mishaps. One day he changed his point of view. He said, "I'm thankful for the extra money so that I can handle these emergencies." His change resulted not only in less stress, he started to earn extra money and began to travel, bought a new car, built up a savings account, and enjoyed daily living more. He told his adult children about his new frame of mind, and they too started to have a much more positive attitude about money. So want to learn more about how to teach your children about money? Stay with us as we explore Beyond the Tooth Fairy, talking with children about money.
Thank you, Ellen, and hello and welcome everybody. My name is Patty Murray, and I will be your host for today's Coping with Co-Parenting webinar presented by FamilyKind, a nonprofit organization that empowers children, parents, and couples before, during, and after separation or divorce. We are able to bring you this webinar series free of charge due to the generosity of our sponsor, SoberLink. SoberLink supports accountability for sobriety and child safety, combining a breathalyzer with facial recognition and wireless connectivity for real-time results and reports. SoberLink's new Family Assistance Program offers alcohol monitoring free of charge to anyone who qualifies. By increasing our total reach in our mission of supporting families affected by alcohol abuse, this program will help continue to reduce litigation and foster peace of mind. As Ellen mentioned, tonight's webinar is Beyond the Tooth Fairy, talking with children about money, featuring Ellen Tanner, who is FamilyKind's Director of Program Development, Leslie Friedland, Executive Director of FamilyKind, and tonight's special guest, Sally Mullins-Thompson, FamilyKind's Treasurer, as well as a financial planner and investment advisor providing financial services to professionals, families, and small business owners. So now it is my great pleasure to turn things back over to our moderator, Ellen.
Thank you, Patty, and thank you, SoberLink. Our goal tonight is to help parents gain insights and tools that help us teach our children about money. As I said earlier, it's easier sometimes for adults to talk about many other personal things that are going on in their lives than it is for them to discuss finances. And this hesitation that we have often prevents us from discussing things with children about money. Let's be clear, we're not advocating that or encouraging you to discuss money issues that you may be having with your co-parents with your children. That's not what we're talking about. We want to discover ways to discuss children's money issues, not only about their allowances, if they have that, but saving for things, earning money, and perhaps investing, understanding true costs of things, the value about working for money, or opinions and biases that they might have about people who have money and those who don't. And I'd like to now turn this over to Sally, who I'm so delighted is with us today.
Hi. So it's important for parents to teach their children about money manners, starting at a young age, because it prepares them to be productive members of society. It enhances their chances for success, and it generally contributes to their sense of well-being in adulthood. So having the knowledge and information in this area gives children a strong foundation to deal with money manners in the future. There's a strong link between financial literacy and good money manners. So Ellen, what helps you be prepared for these conversations?
Well, you know, Sally, there are many opportunities to have these conversations with children. There's lots of teachable moments when money matters can arise. I had a parent in one of our parenting education classes that said that he and his son had a conversation about sneakers that he wanted. There were $100 pair of sneakers, and the father was just not prepared to spend that kind of money. So he said that I would share the cost with my son. And we thought, that's pretty good. So his son figured out ways to earn money, to save money. And when he got the $100, he and his dad went to the store. But there was one thing that the son had not ever thought about. And that was, of course, sales tax. And dad did not save him. He said, oh, I guess you don't have enough money yet. And that led into a whole lot of conversations like, why do we need sales tax? And what is sales tax used for? So there's lots of opportunities to have what we call the teachable moments. And it is so important that when we have these conversations, that we use skills that we often teach in our parenting education classes, such as iMessages, reflective listening, some people call that active listening, or to stop, look, and listen, you know, pausing to see how we can be the best versions of ourselves. An iMessage about money is that the dad could use with his son was, I feel happy that you've been saving your money because it shows that you can earn and be prepared. Can we agree that when you finish getting the money that you need for the sales tax, we can come back rather than turning into a whole argument? Or reflective listening could be, I understand that you're really frustrated about not being able to pick up the sneakers today. So there's lots of things that we can say and speak with our children about money. We want to use skills, though, when we use it, communication skills. Sally, what do you see as teachable moments for children?
Well, one teachable moment I can think of is a mother and daughter driving in a car, and the daughter pointing to the car that she sees and says, I want a car like that when I get older. That's the time that the parent could start asking the daughter, has she thought about how she's going to buy the car? Has she thought about, is she going to get a loan for the car? And has she thought about how much it's going to cost to maintain the car, the gas, the repairs, the insurance on it? So that's an opportunity when your children are sharing their dreams about something, whether it's a car, going to college, or doing something else that they want to do, to ask them, what are their plans for the money part of that particular goal or dream?
Very true.
And it's also important to talk with your children, for you as the parent to figure out what you want to share with your child in the realm of money. So as the parent, parents need to think through that, think through how they value money, and whether or not they want their children to have those same values. And if they do, how are they going to communicate those values to their children?
You know, Sally, one of the
So,
things that
well,
there's so
so
much to talk about, I know.
yeah, so I was wondering, Ellen, how you um, coach your co-parents to go about doing this and talking with their children about money.
I think the same skills that we were just discussing about using an iMessage with your co-parent is just as effective. You know, I feel excited that our son wants to buy expensive sneakers because it's a great opportunity for him to learn about money. Can we agree that we're both going to be on the same page about him having the opportunities to earn some money and to save it? That's a wonderful skill. And your co-parent and you want to both understand that we're not discussing between each other's issues about money. It's discussing what we want our children to learn about money. We also want to ask each other open-ended questions and listen actively. Really make sure that you understand what you and your co-parent are saying. Confirm your understandings with each other. We encourage co-parents, whether they're living together or apart, to discuss and agree on the systems and informations that you're going to share with children. Remember, again, I can't emphasize this enough, this is not about your money issues, it's about children. We never want to put children in the middle of their parents' money issues. This is a strong point that we make in the FamilyKind parenting education program for divorced, separated, and unmarried parents. Sally, what are some key concepts and guidelines that you recommend?
Well, one of the things that it's important to think about is that everyone in the family has a job and responsibilities. Sometimes children get money for doing chores. Sometimes they get it for doing well in school, and sometimes for being a wonderful member of the family. So it's important for the parents to explain that to their children. So I think Leslie has a story about how she raised her children in that area and what lessons they have taken away now that they're older. Leslie, you there?
I'm going to unmute. Okay. Thank you, Sally, Ellen, and Patty. It's really great to be here talking about this important topic. And as we've been preparing over the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking a lot about this topic and how I raised my child, or with my husband, my children. So we have 2 young adults now, but when they were younger, basically we did not give our children allowances. We sort of understood that we each had jobs and responsibilities in our home. And the parents had the responsibility to earn money and support the family. And the kids had their own jobs to be good students, good family members, just good citizens. So we didn't attach a money value to that for the children, but we all needed to do our jobs. And we talked about how that was important.
And you're showing us, Leslie, in that example, that there is no one right way. You know, if you want to give your children allowances, that's fine. If you prefer that your children learn about money from different types of conversations and they get their allowance because of just being cooperative in the family in general, that's fine too. What's important though is that co-parents, whether you're married or not, be on the same page about it and not give conflicting information to children. The other thing that is important for parents to consider is the whole discussion about wants versus needs. You know, a lot of parents believe that if you don't need it for survival, you shouldn't buy it. And they teach this to their children too. And yet their actions often contradict this. And how you define want and need may vary over time. For example, I need beautiful things in my life, so I select art and furnishings for my home so that it's soothing, because the outside world can be very challenging. Sometimes I have to save for those things. I want So I have to make a strategy to acquire what's important to me. So we have to model for our children that they learn to find the things that are important to them, even if they're not that important to us. You know, we may say that $25 pair of sneakers, going back to the father and son situation, would have been fine. But if it helped the young man, that son, learn so much more about money, that extra money for those sneakers was definitely worth it. Sally, how do parents also convey the value of $1 to their children?
Yeah. So, you know, the value of $1 is based on what it can buy and what that purchase, the thing that's bought, means to the child. So whether the money is earned, gifted, inherited, or even found, it's useful to discuss this value concept with your children. So since many of them have their own money these days, what they do with it, excuse me, and how they feel about the decisions they make about it offer excellent opportunities to explore the value that money brings with them. So another concept to think about discussing with them is, where does money come from? Getting money requires the brain and muscle power. It requires strategies, plans, and goals. And it requires taking specific actions. So that's something that they should consider as they think about where money comes from. Identify ways to spend money with them and ask if they want to spend it right away, or do they want to save it for something in the future. When you talk with money about, talk with your children about money, be sure to use age appropriateness, the language that you use, the games that you play with them, the books that you read together, or the activities that you do with them. And other money manners to talk with your children about based on their age and interests includes things such as starting a savings account, creating a budget for spending the money, i.e. having a plan for it. Do they want to invest the money and make it grow? Are they planning to use credit cards, like in the car example? Or are they going to get a loan? If they get a loan, like to buy a car or to buy a computer or an iPhone, they need to understand that the money is going to be given to them, but they have to pay it back. And it's going to be paid back with interest. So it's actually going to cost more. And the same for a credit card if they don't pay it off each month. And another thing is giving to others less fortunate. That's a way that they can spend their money as well. And finally, be sure to model and walk the talk, because the children are watching you.
Sally, that was a very rich list of things you have us consider. No pun intended. So let's review the important things that you said and we've been discussing so far. The whole thing is, don't avoid the topic. Don't make it secretive or turn it into something mysterious that's unknowable or confusing. Be transparent, be open, be honest, and willing to talk about money together as a family or one-on-one, depending on the family situation. It's ideal if co-parents can communicate with each other as to what conversations they're having with children on the topic and to minimize confusion. Try to seek as much consensus as possible. So before we open it up to other parents for their questions, I'd like to ask Leslie, what are some other opportunities for parents to impart financial education to their children?
Sure, yeah. I was thinking about some opportunities. One is, I know in my own life, when the kids were younger in elementary school, their school engaged in something called the penny harvest. And each year, each class would pick two charities or projects. that the children would want to raise money for. And they would be really great non-for-profits or other people in need, and the kids would vote and choose it. And then they would, throughout the year, they would find ways of raising money so they could present this support to those projects. And I thought that was a great opportunity to learn in school, but then at home as well, because we needed to help the children understand, well, how will you get that money? What does it mean to ask people for money for a good cause? So it was a really nice way to start talking about money at a young age. Another story is a friend of mine tells a very touching story, really. She used to get gifts and monetary gifts when she was younger, for a birthday or holidays. And then one day, her mom said, you know what? Why don't we open a bank account? So you can save the money, you can see it grow. And she was so excited. My friend was first grade. She got all dressed up, and her mom took her to the bank for the first time. And they had lots of great conversations of what this meant. So I thought that was another nice example.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get some questions going. I think we have one, don't we, Patty? Can you read it to us?
Sure, yeah, we're starting to get some questions in from our attendees. So thank you for sending in your questions, and keep sending them in using the Q&A feature. Our first attendee is asking, should I put a limit on how much my child can spend?
Mm-hmm.
Sally, do you want to take that one?
I think, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. So this might be one of those teachable moments, actually, because you might want to ask the child, remember we talked a little bit about, is this instant gratification, or do you have something else you're saving this money for? So rather than putting a limit on how much they could spend, you could turn it into a moment where you could talk about, is this that they're getting ready to spend it on? Is it being used? Is this money that was earmarked for something else? So that's one of the things I would do in that particular situation. If you're giving your child an allowance, then unless you put restrictions on how they're to spend that money, it's pretty much you're letting them decide. One of the other things I talked about is you could follow up with that and say, are you glad that you spent the money in this way? And if they are not, don't feel good about that decision, that could be another opportunity to talk through with them what they should consider as they start to spend the money, as opposed to putting a limit and making it be like, well, this is the rule my parents said, you know, that kind of thing. So that's what I would do in that situation.
I agree, Sally, that it's something depending on the age of the child and what it is that the child wants to do with the money. And one of the hardest parts of being a parent is watching our children make mistakes, but it's also often how they learn, and they may end up with what's called buyer's remorse.
Right.
You know, saving, I worked so hard for that $100 for my sneakers, and then they got ruined. You know, I outgrew them before I, could really enjoy them. So there's a lot to the conversations and rules and ideas, but that's what we learn as parenting.
That's exactly right.
Really. I think we have another question that says, my co-parent thinks I give my child a low amount of allowance. He tells my child how much child support he pays me a month and says it's unfair how much money I give my child. How can I keep my child out of this conflict? Well, there's two parts to this question. One is about the child, and the other part is the co-parent. And going back to our list of skills, I think it's very important that, first of all, we tell our child that we hear what they're saying and that maybe they even think it's unfair. and that we appreciate that they understand that in one household there's one set of rules, and in this household there's another set of rules. And to be reflective in our response to them, we acknowledge how they're feeling and the facts, and help them to understand that you understand how they feel. Then the other part is, how do you communicate with your co-parent? I don't know this person's personal situation. I don't know if you have to email or if you can actually have a calm conversation with them. This is a wonderful opportunity for an iMessage. I feel worried when you discuss our money issues with our child because it makes them uncomfortable. Can we agree that we won't discuss our money issues with the children and just discuss how we want them to learn how to use their money? So I hope that that's somewhat helpful. Sally, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, that was great. That's exactly, I agree totally with that. I think the main thing is rather than, what I'm hearing is, rather than getting upset about these kinds of things, look for the silver lining, look for the opportunity to talk either with your child, if that's where the issue is lying, or with the co-parent, using the skills that are being taught here. And it becomes a win-win situation for everybody, even though it may have started out as sort of feeling like a conflict or feeling frustrated. So I think there's so much to be learned from these different types of situations.
I think so too. I think we have time for one more quick question. So I'm going to give this one a stab, which is that my child has grandparents that have a lot of expendable money and like to take my children shopping, even for things that they don't need or even really want. What can I do about this? And again, depending on the ages of your children, you might help them use an iMessage, or you might want to use an iMessage with the grandparents. I want to go back to what example Leslie gave you about taking the child or children to opening up a savings account. So here's an iMessage. I'm excited that Rowan, let's just name this child Rowan, is learning about money, because then Rowan will make better decisions when older. Can I count on your help as grandparents that instead of shopping, you take Rowan to a local bank and open a savings account, and you can go on a regular basis and make deposits and explain how the account's growing with deposits and interest? That would be extraordinary. So there's a silver lining right there. So anything you wanted to add, Sally?
No, that.
Okay. You know, there's one other thing besides shopping that we might also encourage our child to tell our grandparents, their grandparents, which is that they've discovered a new charity that they want to give money to, and
Yeah,
see.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I love that. Yes, because I think teaching your children to give to others less fortunate is just such a wonderful concept.
And then they can tell their grandparents, this is a charity that I think is important and why they think it's important, and get their grandparents, you know, to join in and being supportive, so that they're, you know, teaching, intergenerational teaching is what we like to call that in the parenting education world. Okay.
I love that example too, Ellen, just because sometimes when grandparents try to help and they might do things that are different than what you do, it can be stressful. So instead of just saying, oh, they're driving me crazy, or that's not how I'll do it, you are incorporating and saying, let's all work together to see how we can support giving the right messages to the kids.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yes.
So I think we're just about out of time. I'd like to go over a couple of resources for parents. And these are ones that I personally have used. One is called Loaded, written by Dr. Sarah Newcomb. The full title of the book is Loaded: Money, Psychology, and How to Get Ahead Without Leaving Your Values Behind. It was a huge eye-opener for me. I loved it. And then there's one that a family can do together, which is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And this is both a book and a game, and I played the game with not just my family, but other families as well. We actually combined a couple of families one evening, and we played the game together, which was great. Children of the same age playing with their parents. It was wonderful. And there's also, for younger children, there are books by the Berenstain Bears or the Arthur series. So I strongly encourage families to use lots of different resources. And I know, Sally, you know some other great resources.
Right. One of the things I really like, being a financial person in my professional life, is the financial services companies and the banks really have some great resources for families. And it all, of course, has to do with money. So go to the website of your favorite bank or your favorite financial services company to find those kinds of articles and games. And another thing, in the magazines that you're already subscribing to, look for articles about money, things that you can talk with your children about. And then finally, just browsing the internet, searching on kids and money, it's amazing the things that you can find that will really enhance your ability to talk with your children about money.
Thank you, Sally. So coming up very soon, actually this coming Saturday, is a class that's for free, just like this webinar, called the free Zoom parenting class. And it's a 7-session class that's held on Saturday mornings from 9:30 to 10:30, just 1 hour long. It is for parents of children ages 3 to 13, even a little older is fine. Come join me. We had a wonderful series back in April and May, and we're back by popular demand. So many people asked for us to do this again. So whether you've taken the class already or you would be brand new, I'm sure there'll be a lot that you'll learn on this journey of parenting education. So I hope to have you join us then.
Mm-hmm.
Patty.
Mm-hmm. So before we go, I would just like to thank everybody who came out tonight and spent some time with us. We certainly appreciate it. So thank you for attending. I also want to thank our panelists for sharing their expertise, Ellen, Leslie, and Sally. I'm just wondering, we covered a lot of ground. Was there any final thoughts from any of you?
I'm just so happy that we discussed this tonight, and grateful to Sally and Ellen for their expertise in talking about this very, very important topic that's just everywhere. But somehow, as was mentioned, we don't really talk about it with children in a healthy way. So just thrilled that we were able to have that discussion tonight, and grateful to Patty for helping us make it run smoothly.
Right, and I want to thank everybody for inviting me to attend. I'm really passionate about this topic and just feel like it's such a worthwhile topic, and there are so many children that can benefit from knowing more about money as they go through life. So thank you for having me as a guest tonight.
Thank you, everyone, as well. I appreciate the opportunity to explore this wonderful and very important topic.
And so in my closing thoughts, I just also want to thank our sponsor, SoberLink, for supporting FamilyKind and our educational programming. FamilyKind also relies on the support of parents like yourselves. So if you would like to make a donation so we can continue to offer free educational programming, please visit FamilyKind.org, and any amount is welcome. We look forward to being with you again soon, and until then, be well.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.